Good morning, friends. First, let me welcome you to the webinar today on behalf of Latest Laws. First of all, sorry we are running about 5-10 minutes late. Before we start, I want to thank Divyansh and Riya from Latest Laws for making this possible, and I want to appreciate the good work that they're doing, and I wish them all the best in their future endeavors. To tell you something about myself, my name is Gaurav Bhatara. I have been the lead mentor and director of AB tutorials for over 10 years, during which time I have had almost 3,500 students who have passed out into top NLUs and DU law faculty and are practicing as lawyers. During the course of the webinar, in case you have any questions, please type in your comments. I will try and answer it as we go along. In case that's not possible, then I'll do it at the end of the webinar. So we are here today basically to let you know how you could prepare for the undergraduate or the graduate law exams in a manner that would get you the success that you're aspiring for. So what I've done actually is, for the purposes of this webinar, I've split up the webinar into 2-3 portions. One, of course, is a general introduction about why you should do law. Be about 4-5 minutes when I'll tell you that why is it that you should opt for law. I mean, I meet thousands of students and all aspiring to do law, but why exactly, or what is the future prospect of you as a lawyer in this country is very important for you to know and understand, because that will help you to have further motivation from within. So the main advantage of law as a career in legal education is that India is at the threshold of growth. Now, as all of you know, India is the third, so it's the largest growing economy, or the fastest growing economy again this year. And by 2028, it is expected to become the third largest economy in the world. So this kind of expansion, what is happening in India, is going to lead to a lot of enterprises and businesses and specialized legal guidance. That is why in the last 10 to 12 years, you are seeing so many bright and capable, intelligent young students opting for law as a career. And also because if you see, as compared to engineering, on an average, as per the government figures, there are about 7 to 7.5 lakh engineers passing out every year in India, and out of that about 13% of them find employment, as opposed to lawyers, where there are about only 50,000 that are passing out from your law schools each year, and out of those 50,000, only about 10% of them may be from the good reputed colleges, which is those 5,000. So very important for you is not just to aim for a legal education, but to aim for a legal education where you can be amongst those 10%, that is 5,000 lawyers from reputed law schools, so that your future is bright. So coming back to the reason why you're here, firstly is the undergraduate and graduate exam. So you can join law at 2 stages. One is after 12th and one is after graduation. So after 12th you have 5-year law course, and after graduation you have a 3-year law course. Now the main advantage of a 5-year law course is that you get 2 degrees, one or LLB, plus the other one you can opt depending on your area of interest, which could be BA, which could be BBA, even BSc, BCom. So these are called dual degree programs in 5 years, in which you get 2 programs. For the 3 years, the difficulty now in 3-year law in India is that there are very few reputed colleges that are offering DU law, the 3-year law course, because of which it has become very competitive. See, in the 5 years, there are many reputed colleges, but in the 3 years, the option comes down. So more and more students are opting for the 5-year because of the competition that they are seeing at the 3-year level. So let's start with the 3-year. So in the 3-year, the most sought after college is the Delhi University Law Faculty, followed by BHU, Banaras Hindu University. Then you have Maharashtra Common Entrance Test, which has Government Law College, Mumbai, and ILS, Pune. And then of course you have Symbiosis, Pune, that has just started 2 years back their 3-year program. Some students also opt for Punjab University. So this pretty much, sums up the 3-year, at least the reputed ones. Of course, there are many state level universities, but for the purposes of today's guidance, I'm going to restrict myself to the national level university. Then we come to 5-year. So all of you would know the most popular one, which is CLAT, which is CLAT, which has about 19 national law universities. Then we come to AILET, which is NLU Delhi. Then the third one is Indraprasth, which is mostly for Delhi students because it has an 85% Delhi reservation. Then you have Banaras Hindu University. Then you have Symbiosis Noida. And a lot of students are opting for LSAT India because of Jindal Global Law School. So these are some of the colleges which, universities which I have seen many students opt for, and of course I also guide them into joining these law universities. A little bit now, let me start with the academic portion. So you have 5 common subjects or abilities in any of the law exam, be it undergraduate or graduate. First, let me list out those subjects for you. The first one being general knowledge or general studies. The second is legal or legal aptitude or reasoning, whichever way you may call it. Third is logical reasoning. Fourth is verbal reasoning. And fifth is quantitative aptitude, that is QA. Now let me first tell you what each of these subjects actually involves, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how to prepare for these subjects, and then we'll go on to preparation strategy and some of the things that will help you get a high rank or a top rank. So general knowledge or general studies normally consists of 2 aspects. One is static GK and the other is current affairs. Current affairs, on an average, most of the exams look for 1 year's current affairs. So depending on whether you're taking an undergraduate or a graduate exam, it normally starts by April 1st or something like that. So 1 year's current affairs is required. Static GK consists of history, geography, economics and science. So this is the breakup of your general knowledge. This is actually one of the more difficult abilities which students face. I normally have a lot of students who have difficulties in general knowledge. Now after that, the second one is legal. Now legal, the difference between undergraduate and graduate exams is that the 5-year exams require you to have more of legal reasoning, whereas in the 3-year exams they require you more to have legal aptitude. So the topics of law which are covered regularly in the exams, which keep coming in the papers, of course the first thing that you must do, and you must not neglect this, is which is legal terms and maxims. So legal terms and maxims comes in legal section, and there is also a tendency for it to come in the verbal section. So therefore you must not leave it. Though sometimes students have this careless attitude that we'll manage it. And like last year's CLAT paper had so much legal terms and maxims, and this is where they lost their marks and they lost their rank. So the topics are, first is legal terms and maxims, second is constitution, third is tort law, fourth is contract law, and fifth is criminal law. So these are the 5 topics in legal section that you should be familiar with. Depending on which exam you're taking, whether undergraduate or graduate, there is certain change in your focus area of preparation when you approach the legal reasoning or legal aptitude section. Now third we come to is logical reasoning. Now logical reasoning consists of 2 parts. One is analytical reasoning and the other is critical reasoning. Analytical reasoning is what? Analytical reasoning is when you have figures and numbers based. So what happens in analytical reasoning is the percentage of accuracy can be 100%. And the second thing is the questions move very fast. So the problem with critical reasoning is if you're getting an accuracy of 50%, that means from exam point of view, you're at qualifying level. The second thing about critical reasoning is you're not sure at any stage whether your answer is right or wrong. So because of the negative marking, a lot of times students face difficulty in critical reasoning. The third is that critical reasoning is time consuming. So therefore there is a certain manner in which you prioritize these two parts of logical reasoning when you're taking the exam. And hopefully I'll be able to, I would have enough time to share this with you today. The third one we have is verbal reasoning. Sorry, the fourth one is verbal reasoning. So verbal reasoning actually, it's a very general kind of a subject or ability. But from exam point of view, where students face difficulties is first vocabulary. Because the vocabulary that you're used to now and the vocabulary that you find in the exam is normally one step or two step higher. If you're an undergraduate student, you'll find the vocabulary to be maybe second year college. And if you're a graduate student, you'll find probably to be a postgrad level of English. So vocabulary is very important that you should be good at. Now vocabulary takes time. So you should generally start at least 3 months before when you want to bring up your vocabulary. Of course, you can also start a month earlier and bring it up, but then it becomes more challenging and more amount of effort is required for that. So students often ask me where to do vocabulary form. So vocabulary should be done from graduate level sources, whether you're doing the 5-year exam, whether you're doing the 3-year exam. So graduate level sources could be a GRE, you could do a GRE word list or GMAT word list or LSAT word list. So the word list should be taken from a graduate level book or an academic source. Then the second thing is reading comprehension, and the third thing is para-jumble. Now between these three, normally your verbal reasoning section can be cracked. And reading comprehension normally requires special guidance, because reading comprehension, the kind of RCs that are coming now in the exam are sometimes based towards critical reasoning. So they may ask you for finding the assumption in a paragraph. They may ask you to identify the main point of the argument, how to strengthen the argument. All these things have now been coming last couple of years. The other thing is para-jumble. Para-jumble also requires some amount of preparation. See, the problem is not that para-jumbled or RCs are difficult in itself, but when you're doing them under a constrained time, that means time constraint, suddenly the difficulty of that topic goes up. So it is because you're doing it under time constraint that these topics become difficult. The last one, of course, is QA, which is quantitative aptitude. So this is your class 10th level commercial maths. In undergraduate, it is normally 10 to 20 marks depending on which exam you're taking. And in graduate, in the DU law faculty, normally 3 to 5 questions is safe to expect. Of course, in the DU law faculty, last year they've changed the pattern also. And also in NLU Delhi, they've changed the pattern this year to include the negative marking. Now, I'll just tell you a little bit about the difference between undergraduate and graduate preparation. Now, a lot of students approach me and they say they're preparing where there's mixed batches, so undergraduate and graduate are combined together, and they are feeling that their preparation not up to the mark. For those such students who are any of those places, just remember the benchmark is for 5 years. There is an equitable distribution of all the 5 abilities. That means general knowledge, legal, logic, verbal and quant. Also, what happens in the legal section, very less residual knowledge is required. So aptitude is almost nil in the undergraduate exams, except in symbiosis or in AILET. as far as the graduate exam go, which is the Delhi University Law Faculty, so the Delhi University Law Faculty, the stress area comes to general knowledge, legal and constitution. So this is the major stress area: general knowledge, legal aptitude and constitution. Whereas maths and logic are not stress areas. It's very they're easier, logic and maths section, and not very challenging. So this is the main difference between the undergraduate and the graduate exam. Now, since I told you about the 5 subjects, let me tell you a little bit about how the exam techniques, because these 5 subjects are one thing, but the exam techniques and the preparation techniques, that means how you prepare, they are very, very important. So what we'll do is that we'll cover up the academic preparation first. So the trick to GK, first fundamental mistake where hundreds of students come to me with their preparation messed up is they have access to unlimited amount of information and they don't know what to do and what to leave. So in GK, the 2 important things are: first, you must have relevant study material from exam point of view. Because these are open comparative exams, that means there is no syllabus. You can have n number of content, so you don't know which one to take, which one to leave. So the first thing in general knowledge is to have correct information and relevant information source of reference material. And second trick to cracking the GK section is consistent revision. Now a lot of times students come and they are all running in different sources. Someone will do from 5 sources, someone will do from 10 sources. More is not always better. But what you have to do is, even if you select 1 or 2 sources, but you do it properly, the chances of you being able to answer 90% of the questions in GK section becomes high. So very important is not to run in all directions, but whatever you select, first thing is to select the right academic source, and second is to keep revising to ensure that you are able to solve at least 70 to 90% of the GK section easily. Second one is, of course, logic. Now logic requires practice. And critical reasoning requires verbal skills. So the problem with critical reasoning is, because it is so difficult to understand, you must master the elimination technique. There is something known as an elimination technique when you are solving critical reasoning. Of course, legal, verbal and quant I have already told you. Now, one of the things that you must take care of when it comes to GK is, don't leave your GK revision to the last 2 weeks before the exam. What happens is, before the exam, you tend to get slightly anxious. So your memorizing capability comes down. So what you must try and do is, you must try and finish your revision as many times so that the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks is mostly devoted to, along with revision, answering as many MCQ questions or as many test papers that you can. So now let me come to a little bit about the exam technique. Like I said, guidance for a law entrance exam or how to crack it can take a very long time. But since we have limited time today, I am trying to cover up everything so that at least by going through this webinar, you will be able to have clarity about how to pace yourself and how to prepare. Now the exam technique, the standard problems which students make every year, and despite me telling them, still they make, and then they have the results are not as well as they expected. So please follow these exam techniques. The first and foremost, always try and visit the center before the exam. That means maybe 1 or 2 days before the exam, maybe 3-4 days before the exam. Because when you go and you see and you become familiar with the place, you will be relaxed. When you go for the first time, you will have anxiety of a new place, and that adds up to your exam anxiety. So go a couple of days before, have a look at the place. So once you've seen it, at least your mind will be relaxed. Okay, I know this is where I have to go. Second thing, prepare a checklist. So prepare a checklist for your exam day. So last year I met a student who went for the DU Law Faculty exam. Last year went for the DU Law Faculty exam and forgot his admit card at home. And this has happened with n number of students, because sometimes on the last day you're a little anxious, you're a little tense. You may sometimes forget these things. So prepare a checklist. And when that student met me and he told me, sir, this is what has happened. So next year he prepared with me, and then I made him sign a checklist that this is what you need to do, and he cleared the DU Law Faculty exam very easily. So this is the second thing, which is preparing the checklist. Third is reach well before time. The moment you reach before time, you don't have additional anxiety or tension which you are putting on yourself. Let's say your exam is at 3 o'clock and you are reaching there and the reporting time is 2 o'clock, and you reach there 5 minutes before reporting time. Obviously, it is normal to start feeling a little bit tense and unsettled. And in that process, your concentration and your accuracy of exam taking may get affected. So it's always good to reach before time. Then fourth, very important thing, read instructions of the exam before you start. Even though you may have been told 10 times, 20 times, 50 times that this is what your instructions are going to be, but still read it again and again. Like this year, NLU Delhi AILET has negative marking. It has been declared. So maybe some students have not read the changed format which has just come out a couple of weeks back, and they may again just attempt the paper basis no negative marking. So very important is always follow or read the instructions carefully. For the paper and pencil test, just take out 1 minute and just go through and read and just check that your total number of pages in the booklet are what should be there. A lot of times these are small things, and I've had students who have faced this problem. They started with the exam, and 40 minutes into the exam they realized they had a faulty test booklet. Now when they get the new test booklet, everything starts from new. So that is why it's important for these things to be taken care of before. Fourth is keep a watch. You see, these exams require you to pace yourself in a certain manner. So you must keep a watch with you, because if you know that the total time duration is 2.5 hours or 2 hours or 1.5 hours, you know that this is how much time I need to finish this much amount of paper. Then you should always practice the sequence in which you're going to attempt the exam. So don't have options or anything like that. When you're practicing, that means before you take the exam, when you're doing mock tests and all of that, develop your own sequence properly. That means I will attempt this section first, this section second, this section third, and then stick to it. Don't keep changing that order. So be very fixed in the order in which you have done. The next point is, don't worry too much about negative marking. See, what happens is, mind can only focus on one thing. Either you can focus on taking the exam, or you can focus on negative marking. If you start thinking too much about the negative marking, your concentration level for the exam is going to come down, and you will get little apprehensive, and you'll start leaving questions. So very important is that don't worry too much about negative marking at the time of the paper. Set up your strategy much before about how you're going to handle negative marking, so that you can concentrate on the exam rather than concentrating on negative marking. The last thing, if you have been preparing for a longer time for these exams, then you should try and attempt maximum number of questions. So I had Shubham Jain, so he I think got a CLAT All India rank 3 in 2013, And this was one of the strategies I used to tell him, and he attempted full 196 out of 200 marks. Also, I had Nikita Garg, who got rank 1 in CLAT, and also Animesh Singh, who got rank 2, and Ankur Singhal, who got rank 3. All of them had attempted high number of questions. But this must happen only when you are preparing for a longer period of time. So what I actually this thing is, there is something called the 7 P's which I try and tell students. The first P, of course, is proper selection of relevant academic sources without errors. If you are using an improper academic source, it doesn't matter whether you are putting in 20 hours a day or 10 hours a day, because the source is faulty. So whenever you decide to prepare for the law exam, the first thing is proper selection of relevant academic sources without any error. Now once you have done that, what is the second thing that you will do? The second P, proper and structured guidance and preparation, including a revision schedule. Revision schedule is one thing in which students often, they will just not give that much importance to that. And the problem, or rather the trick to cracking the exam, lies in revision. So the second thing after selecting relevant academic material is proper and structured guidance and preparation. The third is a proper exam technique. So the third P is a proper exam technique. So develop your exam technique properly, basis how your marks are going up. Fourth is proper time management and a study schedule. So if you have 24 hours in a day, and a lot of times students ask me to set up their time management. If you have 24 hours and you sleep 7 hours, so you still have 17 hours. Now you have to do proper time management to those 17 hours. Even if you take out 2 hours for enjoyment every day, you still have 15 hours. Even if you further take out 2 hours for just wasting time, then also you have 13 hours. So the importance of cracking an exam is directly linked to the manner in which you will do your time management. And this especially becomes very important when you come closer to the exam. Then the fifth P. So fifth P is pacing yourself. That means some students ask me, sir, should we start 6 months before? Some start 1 month before, some start 1 year before. So there are different programs or different preparation duration that students do. So very important is to properly pace yourself. First identify what type of person you are. Are you the type of person that needs time, or you're consistent with something, or are you the type of person who's always a last minute starter? So depending on that, you select the duration of your preparation. If you're the consistent type, then you go for longer durations of preparation. If you're the types that will, start at the last minute or has a short attention span, so you lose interest quickly, you go in for shorter duration of preparation program. The sixth one is proper health. That means these exams require you to put in a lot of effort. And if you take care of your health, then you will be able to put in the hard work and effort this is required. And like I tell students, this is for what? This is for your own success and for your own happiness. So if you're taking care of your health, so now taking care of your health requires two important aspects, or rather three. The first one is sufficient sleep. And I force students to sleep for 6.5, 7 hours, closer to the exams, and I've seen that their performance has been excellent. So you should have sufficient sleep so that your mind is fresh. These exams are not about how long you're sitting on your table, it is about how much you're covering when you're sitting on your table. So first is enough sleep. Second is to be hydrated. That means you must have sufficient water. When you have sufficient water, one of the first things that will happen to you is you will start feeling less anxiety. And when you start feeling less anxiety, your mind starts working properly, your preparation time will go up. That means the amount of hours you're putting in, your efficiency will go up, and your output during the exam will also go up. Third, of course, is good diet. Just for that some time before the exam. There is no harm in just regulating your diet and not binging or not going overboard with what you're eating and where you're eating. I've had so many students who prepared for long time, and just 2-3 days before the exam they became unwell because they went out and ate. That is not sensibility. If you put in so much of hard work to get where you want to get, obviously you must be a little bit sensible that couple of days or couple of weeks before the exam you must become a little bit sensible about what kind of diet to keep. And the last one is proper clear goals and good communication with family regarding your preparation. So proper clear goals means that when in your mind you set up, okay, I want to clear CLC in Delhi University, or I want to clear top 5 NLUs in CLAT, or I want to clear top 2 colleges in IP, whatever may be your aim, you should clarify and quantify it so that your mind is able to see some direction. If you don't quantify or clarify your mind, you say, oh, if I get in top 600 rank in CLAT, that is also okay. Or if I get in top 1000 rank in IP, that is also okay. Or if I get in symbiosis, that is also okay. So you see, this causes a confusion to your mind. When you are preparing, have you seen when you take a bow and arrow and when you shoot, if your focus is not correct, what is going to happen to your arrow? Your arrow is going to go all over the direction. So very important, as this is the last P, that have proper goals, because that will help you to get your direction in order. And try and communicate openly and honestly with your family. That will help you feel more relaxed about things and you won't feel stressed out. Now, I think this, because of shortage of time, I think this is pretty much what I could tell you in terms of exam technique and in terms of academic preparation. Just lastly, I'll tell you that treat books as your best friends. You see, just for the duration of time, when you're preparing for the exam, treat books as your best friend, because they will give you something in return which no other friend can possibly do. It will give you a career full of success, happiness and fulfillment. And just for that time, what will happen is, if you just avoid wasting time, you are going to be happier and you'll also get where you want to get. So first is always that treat books as your best friend. The second is, be happy while you're preparing. See, what is the purpose of preparation and qualifying or cracking a law exam? It's not to become unhappy. It's not to have suffering. The purpose of cracking a law exam is for you to become successful and happy in life, isn't it? Now, if the goal is happiness and success, do you think while pursuing the goal you must become unhappy? That will become counterproductive to your goal as well. So whenever you feel a little stressed out or whenever you feel little this thing, remind yourself that this is for my own success and happiness, and be happy even though you may be working much harder than what you're used to. Try and be happy so that your output or outcome is also happy, which is what you want to do. Then the other thing is also that don't follow anybody else's strategy. Develop your own strategy. I've seen hundreds of students, what they do is that they start following their friend and says, sir, that person is doing like this, I should also do like this. And that is one of the worst things to do. So do not follow anybody else, develop your own strategy. So I think this is pretty much wraps it up, and what I will tell you is that, recapping. So cracking the law exams, they are very simple. The law exams are very direct and simple. Students often complicate things for themselves. What you must do is, let's recap. First, correct and relevant study material. correct and relevant study material, and a proper academic strategy. So I think this is what to start with. If you follow this, I'm quite sure that whatever your goals and aspirations are, that you will be able to achieve them. And I wish you all the best for all your law exams. So I just had a question from somebody whether we offer LLM preparation classes. So what we do actually is that we offer 3-year and 5-year LLB programs. Then we offer LLB guidance to overseas, that means to UK, and we offer LLM guidance to UK and US. So we don't offer LLM classes to India, but we offer LLM guidance for students to UK and to US. Now that's another subject, and one of these days, if we do that, I will tell you about how to set up your trajectory and what is the advantage of doing a LLM outside India and all of those things. But for today's purposes, it was meant basically for students who are preparing for the entry level exam, that is 3-year or 5-year. If you have any doubt or any further guidance that you'd like, you're welcome to reach out to me through latest laws, or through our Facebook page, which is AB Tutorials, or through my Facebook page, which is Gaurav Bhatara Fan Club. Any other guidance or anything, please let me know so I can tell you clearly. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for being wonderful, brilliant, patient audience. I wish all the best in your exams and look forward to wonderful success from your end. Thank you very much.